Hi guys, and welcome to this first video blog entry that I have for this website. In this short video clip I'm going to be talking a little bit about the social, global and political contexts that are affecting Australian education at the moment. As I briefly touched on in the historical context page of this website, I think that the progression of Australian education is largely due to the progression of Australian society itself. And I think if you look at the education system in any country, what you're really looking at sociologically is the study of the society itself. Because I think that they're one of the same thing, or at least that there's this constant sort of interplay between education and society, a constant dialogue, in that the intention of education is to create socially capable people to fit within society. So it's from within a societal lens that we're looking at education, and then within that, or a myriad of other factors that are then affecting education. In this short video clip, I'm only going to talk about three: the social, the global and the political. So I think one of the biggest changes that's happened in Australian education, and that's really coming to the fore at the moment, is this new sort of public social awareness of education and education's role within society. I don't think there's been a time in history where people have been more socially aware of education and its role in society. And that might be sort of choosing education for their children, having a say on how the education system's run. Parents have never been more involved with the educational community that they're in. The education system's never been more in the media spotlight. Teachers have never been more in the media spotlight. And that's then sort of diffused onto the students, who are really quite aware of their social position within a school, and then that school's social position within society. And that's sort of relating there to the public versus private schooling debate that's going on, where the public perception is that government schools are often poorly funded, offer less opportunity for academic success, where the opulent private schools offer a better chance of success for the children. And while there are certainly figures that support this in the retention rates of private students getting into Year 12 and then achieving high ATAR enter scores, but I think if you're just looking at the facts and the sort of public-private debate, I think it's a really dogmatic way of looking at it, because it's failing to take into account too many factors like socioeconomic status, English as a second language, the amount of differentiated teaching required in the classroom, the amount of external education support from teachers, from parents, and tutors, that sort of thing. So I think if you're leaving the schools out of it, if you leave teachers out of it, and if you leave the institution of education itself out of it, the real social discrepancy in education at the moment is about the bottom line, which is of course money. And the facts speak for themselves. So 76% of high socioeconomic students make it to Year 12, where only 14% of low socioeconomic students make it to Year 12. And other statistics then support this sort of economic inequality in education, and there's just rife evidence throughout educational research. And I think it's a really sad thing, because I don't believe these statistics are particularly reminiscent of student effort or talent. I don't believe our education system functions as a meritocracy where opportunities are given to those who strive for them. I think, and this is a generalisation, but I do think that opportunities are given to the bourgeoisie who have inherited or have economic means to a successful education. I think this is the really ignominious social problem that faces education the world over. Globally, there's something different going on, and it's directly linked to the idea of globalisation. I've always hated the term globalisation. I found it clunky, and I think it describes everything and nothing at all. But I was speaking to a journalist friend of mine, and she described it in a way that I could relate to. And that was, globalisation is this idea of the world getting smaller. Everything is becoming minute. So, for example, when you write a letter in 1940, take it across the country, it took 2 weeks. But now we have 0.5 of a second satellite lag on Skype, looking at someone face to face. And it's this idea of everything is becoming really small and really accessible. So how does that then affect education? Well, it's monumental, really. What we're talking about is, and I think in the future what's going to happen is this sort of mass integrated educational community where Harvard professors are streaming lectures to Melbourne, and where students in Melbourne are talking with specialised integration aides in Sydney through Skype or through an earpiece. And we already have that technology in the social sphere. And in education, it's just coming to the fore at the moment. I mean, we've had mass IT rollouts in schools in the past 10 years. The National Broadband Network is now coming to the fore. So we really are living in this new global climate of education, where education has the ability to springboard through technology. And part of what's going on in the political arena is directly linked to this new era of education. The Gonski Review is, I think, about sort of modernising our education system, where we had to spend $5 billion a year for 5 years to sort of revolutionise our education system. I don't think the Gonski Review was a particularly good thing for teachers, because it sort of gave the politicians a messy house, which nobody really wants to clean, because $5 billion a year for 5 years is a hell of a lot of cleaning to do. So I think that they've sort of washed their hands of it and said, we're not going to do anything about it. So what have they done in return is they've put the onus of responsibility onto the teachers. So what we're seeing now is an increasing ordered society, teachers which have their wages based on student performance, which I think is a ridiculous idea. Massive amounts of professional development in schools. And really what we're seeing is the government and the education union at loggerheads. The government saying we can't give you $5 billion a year, and the education union saying, well, you've got to give us something. And I do think there's a happy middle ground to be found if someone has the sense to take the step back and look at what we've got so that we can go forward. And what we do have is a surplus of young teachers coming into the system, and new technology at our fingertips. So it's about finding ways of utilising those two things. And I think increasing the teacher-to-student ratio is the first step to revolutionising our education system. And then sort of finding innovative ways of using the technology as well. But we'll talk more about that in the future directions page of this website. I think that's pretty much it for the blog. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.